Hello and welcome to This Really Happened, a place where unbelievable, heart-touching true stories come to life. Sometimes surprising, sometimes bittersweet, always real. Grab a drink and settle in. We're about to begin. Sonny, what are you grumbling about? Come sit and have a beer with us, and your mood will be top-notch. A loud voice boomed from the kitchen. Laughter echoed around the table, and Matthew felt a blush flood his face. He shot out of the room like a bullet, away from the shame. How could his mother not be embarrassed? She knew perfectly well how much he hated these noisy gatherings at home. He needed to study, prepare for exams, and just eat properly, buy at least some decent clothes. If before only his classmates laughed at him, now even the teachers were starting to look askance. Yesterday, Ms. Eleanor Thompson, his class advisor, said directly, "Matthew, don't you have any other trousers? These are completely see-through like gauze." What could he answer her that he really didn't have any others? He treated these trousers with incredible caution as it was, afraid to move unnecessarily, because he knew they were about to split at the seams. Sometimes he just didn't want to go to school because of it. Matthew missed classes very often as it was, especially when his mother's parties in the kitchen dragged on until morning. What kind of studying could there be then? He only fell asleep towards morning, no matter how hard he tried, and waking up on time was simply impossible. They didn't have an alarm clock, only an old wall clock, but it was absolutely silent. Matthew stood in his room, not knowing what to do. He was unbearably hungry, but he wouldn't go to the kitchen. If there was anything edible there, the guests had surely eaten it all as snacks long ago. He waved his hand, deciding to go outside. He'd walk around. Maybe the company would disperse by the time he returned. Judging by the noise, they had been sitting there for a long time. He wandered around the city for a long time, but didn't meet anyone he knew. His stomach wasn't just growling anymore, it was screaming with hunger. Sitting down on a bench, he took a fallen leaf in his teeth and chewed it. A man sat down next to him, dressed decently, but it was clear from his appearance that he had just been released from somewhere. "And of course I'm leaving now. No need, if it's because of me. We can perfectly fit here together," the stranger said. He sat down, took out cigarettes, and offered one to Matthew. "Want one?" "No, thank you. I don't smoke," Matthew replied. "That's good for you," the man said approvingly. "At your age, I see everyone's puffing away for no reason, and it's very harmful." Matthew smirked. "Then why do you?" he asked. The man laughed. "I do, but I understand. I even know it's better without them, but I can't bring myself to quit," he confessed. "But I want to assure you, it's my only bad habit, honestly." The man's answer definitely pleased Matthew. Suddenly, the stranger turned to him. "Listen, I just arrived in town," he said. "Can you tell me where I can get a good meal here?" The guy involuntarily swallowed, imagining food. "Here, just around the corner, there's a shashlik place," he replied. "They basically serve everything there, but shashlik is the main dish." "Oh, shashlik is good," the man brightened up. "How about you keep me company? I don't like eating alone." Matthew hesitated, not knowing how to answer. "I don't know," he mumbled. "It's decided. Let's go," the man said firmly. "At the same time, you can tell me about the changes that have happened in the city while I was gone." They sat down at a table and Matthew inhaled, savouring the aromas. Lord, what smells! The man looked at him, then closed the menu and turned to the waiter. "2 shashliks for us, some kind of vegetable salad," he ordered. "Tea for the young man, coffee for me. We'll figure out the rest later." The waiter quickly disappeared, and Matthew even turned around to see where he'd gone. "My name is Arthur Davies," the man said. And you? I'm Matthew, the guy introduced himself. When the order arrived, the conversation flowed more easily. Well, tell me, Matthew, why are your eyes sad and why are you walking around alone? Mr. Davies asked. You're at an age when you should have friends around. Matthew stopped chewing, his face becoming sad. I don't have any friends, he replied. Who needs someone like me? Poor, always without money. I don't study well either, so there's no one next to me. Mr. Davies asked questions so skillfully that Matthew didn't even notice how he told him everything. He recounted how they used to live, how his father died at work, how his mother started drinking after that and bringing home anyone she pleased, how he was teased at school, how difficult his life was in general. Do you pity yourself, Matthew? Mr. Davies asked directly. Matthew looked at him in surprise. This man seemed strange to him. Should I be happy? He replied. Anyone would howl like a wolf from a life like this. And he's still a teenager. What can he do? I see you pity yourself, Mr. Davies repeated. May I ask how old you are? 15, Matthew replied. Well, I'll be, Mr. Davies exclaimed. At 15, I'd already given my mother gold earrings for her birthday. Ah, those were the times. No time to sleep. You'd run home from school, grab something on the go, and head outside. There was so much to do, he continued, remembering. Wash someone's car, run to the store for someone, or load and unload. In a week, I earned more than my mother did in a month as a cleaner. And in the evening, when no one was outside, I'd study. We had our own gym in the basement, Mr. Davies recounted. Well, not like the ones you have now, of course, but a homemade one. Barbells from car wheels, pull-up bars from rebar. But we were happy. We always wore tank tops so everyone could see how built we were. Mr. Davies smiled at the memories, then looked sternly at Matthew. And you just study poorly, look bad, and cry about it, he said. You're wrong, brother, very wrong. Matthew stared at the man, his mouth literally hanging open. And he was saying everything right, everything correctly. What was stopping Matthew from doing the same? Nothing. Just the habit of pitying himself. Matthew, I don't have time right now, but jot down your address for me, Mr. Davies said. I'll drop by and we'll talk some more. Matthew wrote the address on a napkin and stood up. Thank you, he said. You're welcome, Mr. Davies replied. We'll see each other again. Remember one thing, Matthew, you can only not get out of a coffin. Everything else can be fixed, endured, changed. I understand, Matthew nodded. Matthew walked home with a firm intention to kick out everyone who was there. However, he couldn't kick anyone out. No one was home anymore. His mother had gone somewhere too. He sighed with relief. Good. At least he could get some sleep. The next day after school, he didn't go straight home. He decided to walk around the city. Almost immediately, he saw furniture being unloaded near a building, apparently new residents. He wanted to walk past, but then decided to risk it. Owner, need help with unloading? He asked. A man around 50 looked him over. Well, that would be nice, he replied. How much will you charge? However much you give, that'll be it, Matthew said. Okay, deal, the man agreed. We'll take it up to the 3rd floor. Matthew helped carry things for almost an hour. It would have gone much faster, but a sofa got stuck in the doorway and it took some time to take it apart. When the sofa was also in the apartment, the owner handed him a 1,000-ruble note. Thank you, he said. I would have been here until night by myself. Oh, that's too much, Matthew said, embarrassed. It's fine, the man waved him off. You need it. Matthew wanted to be offended. The man was clearly hinting at his clothes, but then decided to let it go. At least he had money in his hands, and not a small amount. Matthew looked at his watch. He still had time. He almost ran to the small shop that was not far from their yard. Many such shops with the strange name Second Hand had appeared recently. He knew the clothes weren't new, but who cared? At least they were decent. Matthew opened the door at home, fully expecting his mother to be having another party. But the house was quiet. Matthew was even more surprised when he smelled not tobacco smoke, but something edible. He cautiously stepped into the kitchen. His mother was washing the window, and something was bubbling in a pot on the stove. The stove, by the way, was also clean. "Mom!" Matthew called. She turned around. "Matthew! I didn't hear you come in," she said. "I'll feed you now." Matthew stood there bewildered. Then, just as bewildered, he asked, "What's going on?" "Nothing," his mother replied. "I just decided to finally clean up. I've been quite... Don't worry, Sonny, I won't do it anymore. I promised your friend." "Friend?" Matthew repeated, completely failing to understand anything. "Mom, what friend?" he asked. "Well, a very serious man," his mother replied. Matthew saw fear flash in his mother's eyes, but it disappeared immediately. "Here, Matthew, he left this for you," she said, handing him an envelope and a wad of money. "And I didn't take anything, absolutely nothing," she added hastily. Matthew stared at the money in confusion, then sat down on a chair. He looked at the envelope for a long time, but finally opened it. "Matthew, it so happened that I had to leave urgently," the letter began. "I talked to your mother. I think she won't drink any more. But a lot will depend on you, too. I saw in your eyes that you understood where I came from. Yes, I forgot to tell you the most important thing. In our lives, it's important to forgive. In our lives, it's important to stop in time so it doesn't turn out like it did for me," Arthur Davies continued. "Money is addictive and deprives you of reason, and a person must have reason. But the most important thing is the ability to admit your mistakes and be able to correct them. Never try to pretend that something doesn't concern you. If you can fix it, if it all depends on you, then definitely try to fix everything," the letter read. "I couldn't back then. I didn't push hard enough back then. I lost my temper, and then I didn't change. I didn't fix it, even though I had the opportunity. Now I'm alone. Completely alone. Being lonely is hard. When everything settles down, we'll meet, I promise. Don't be angry with your mother. She just needed support. I didn't give it to her because I was small and weak myself. I believe in you. I saw your eyes, and I'm sure you'll handle everything." Matthew lowered the letter and looked at the money. "Wow." "Mom, what did he say?" he asked. "Nothing much," his mother replied. "He just said he'd definitely stop by when he could." 3 years passed. Few would recognize Matthew in the beaten-down, skinny kid who greedily devoured shashlik in the cafe. A muscular, handsome young man sat on a bench among other guys like him. He lazily chased a matchstick from one corner of his mouth to the other. "Well, decided that we need to punish him?" one of the guys asked. "Are there any against?" another clarified. "Yes, but Matthew," a third began. "But you know no one will be against it," Matthew interrupted him. "Then tonight at the restaurant." "Okay, see you tonight," the guys agreed. Matthew watched the guys walk away quickly and smiled contentedly. For almost a year now, they had been playing Robin Hood, specifically punishing those who considered themselves the golden youth. And not just for nothing, but always for a reason. Yesterday, an incident occurred at the restaurant where they liked to gather. The restaurant owner was a good acquaintance of theirs, George Peterson. It was he who told them that arrogant boys had been frequenting his establishment. Well, arrogant. They themselves were nothing special, but for their parents' money, they somehow tried to buy power and respect. although no, rather fear and submission. And quite often they succeeded. The restaurant owner himself couldn't put them in their place. He would simply be shut down the next day because it would be foolish to butt heads with their parents. So he turned to Matthew. Yesterday evening, these thugs decided to pick on a young waitress, Anna. Matthew had seen this girl a couple of times. Pretty, small, with huge, sad eyes. She only worked evening shifts, meaning she studied during the day. Or maybe she had other things to do. As luck would have it, yesterday they were training according to their schedule. 3 times a week they went to a vacant lot and held sparring sessions there. There were no people there, and if someone did wander in, they hurried to leave as quickly as possible because the fights there were serious. So yesterday, while they were there, 2 of the Golden Youth Company decided to make Anna a punching bag. It all started when one of them spilled a glass of juice on the floor. "Hey, come here!" he shouted. Anna immediately approached. "Need to wipe this up quickly," the guy ordered. "I'll call the cleaner," Anna replied. "What are you told? Wipe it up quickly," he roared. Anna could barely hold back tears. "That's not part of my duties," she said quietly. She turned to leave, but one of the guys blocked her way. "Stop. We're not finished yet," he said. "I'm a customer, and the customer is always right, isn't that so?" Tears were already streaming down Anna's cheeks. "Yes, so you have to do what I say," the guy continued. "Right? Come on, wipe it up." "I don't have anything to wipe with," Anna whispered. Alice approached them. She had been working here for a couple of months and knew perfectly well that arguing with this crowd was pointless. She had also brought Anna here. "What happened? Girl, do you want to keep working here?" Alice looked at the guys in confusion. If your friend doesn't do what we tell her, then tomorrow neither of you will be working here," one of the guys threatened. But Anna pushed Alice aside, took off her snow-white apron, and wiped the juice with it. "There, it's all done," she said. She walked away, accompanied by the guys' laughter. And immediately in the back room, she felt sick. Anna had a real breakdown. She even sank to the floor. Alice helped her up. "Look, why don't you go home?" Alice said. "I'll finish up here myself." "How? What if the owner finds out?" Anna worried. "He won't find out," Alice replied. "We won't tell him anything." But it didn't work out. The 2 guys from the company got so drunk that, understanding nothing, they demanded Anna, waved money in Alice's face, and asked how much that girl would charge for a night with the 2 of them. Alice tried her best to contain the conflict, but in the end, the guys just started trashing the restaurant. They had to call the owner. He arrived quickly, followed immediately by the police. The company was taken away, but released right around the corner. Alice saw it clearly. She was just lowering the blinds on the windows. The owner, Mr. Peterson, was waiting inside. "Well, tell me what happened here," he said. Alice started, then other waiters chimed in. Mr. Peterson listened to everything and said, "You understand that Anna will have to quit." Alice stared at him in surprise. "But why? She didn't do anything wrong," she asked. "I understand, Alice, but they won't make her life easy anyway," the owner replied. "But she absolutely cannot quit," Alice exclaimed. "If Anna doesn't earn money, you know her mother is bedridden." "I know," Mr. Peterson said, "but what do you suggest?" One of the waiters looked at everyone, then said, "We just need to tell Matthew. These guys have gone completely out of line." "No, what? Are you crazy?" Alice protested. "And what does that have to do with you? Who will guess it was you?" Alice also turned to the restaurant owner. "Mr. Peterson, but you're fair," she said. "But what is this? What are you suggesting? Losing my business?" he replied. You understand perfectly well. It's easiest for me to fire Anna. No problem. No need to solve it. The staff dispersed gloomily. Alice quietly cried as she cleaned the hall. The owner approached her. "Don't cry," he said. "I have an idea, but I'm not sure it's the right one. And on the one hand, I myself want people to come to our restaurant to relax, not get into such messes. On the other hand, you could ruin everything in one fell swoop and only harm your Anna more." "I understand you, Mr. Peterson," Alice replied. Alice truly understood him. Although Mr. Peterson was a businessman, he was actually an understanding person. So Mr. Peterson turned to Matthew. Word travels fast, and many knew what they were doing. But no one knew anything for sure. Many knew there were such Robin Hood bandits, were afraid of them, but couldn't connect the sporty guys with bandits. Matthew Smith and his comrades, or accomplices, they could be called anything, settled at a corner table. There was no alcohol on the table. The whole team maintained a healthy lifestyle. Anna served their table. Matthew fiddled with a coloured wire in his hands. Lately, he had become so engrossed in weaving with it that he always carried a few pieces with him. They talked quietly, discussing the latest boxing match that had recently taken place in their city. Matthew lazily watched the girl. She was so pretty, naive, pure, beautiful. Her eyes showed that life hadn't brought her much joy. Anna quickly scurried between tables, smiled at visitors, and they involuntarily smiled back. Suddenly, the girl turned around uninvited. Yesterday's company stumbled into the restaurant. One of them immediately moved towards her. It was a somewhat plump young man, very pale and flabby. His eyes drew particular attention, whitish, watery. "Hey, come here," he shouted. Anna backed away. The guy laughed. "Don't be scared, I won't touch you for free," he said. "Only for money. You're coming with me tonight." Matthew immediately appeared between them. "Ollie, what brings you here?" he said cordially. The guy looked at him in surprise. "I'm not Ollie," he replied. He tried to go around Matthew, but he wouldn't let him. "How can you not be Ollie? Don't you remember?" Matthew continued. "You borrowed a lot of money from me." "Listen, get lost. I'm not Ollie," the guy said nervously. He scanned the room with his eyes, but Anna was no longer there. "I don't understand why you, Ollie, say you didn't take the money." "You did," Matthew insisted. "Just get lost," the guy exclaimed. The guy turned and walked towards his company. Matthew also returned to his seat. "Well, what's up?" one of his guys asked. "I think an hour, no more," Matthew replied. "He's pretty drunk too." Less than an hour later, the same guy separated from the group and walked, swaying, across the hall. Two others followed him. They were clearly looking for Anna. One of the guys saw Alice. "Oh, you sheep! Where's your friend?" he shouted. Alice turned away, for which she immediately received a kick. "Well, now it's time," Matthew said to his guys. Matthew lost sight of the guy with the transparent eyes. He covered the distance to the back room in 2 jumps, and just in time. The guy, covering Anna's mouth with his hand, was trying to press her against himself. Matthew knocked him out with 1 punch. After that, everything happened very quickly. The company was thrown, literally thrown, out onto the street. Of course, the advantage was on the side of Matthew and his guys. Very soon, the Golden Youth Company was pinned against the wall of the building. "Well, Ollie, are we going to pay the debt?" Matthew asked. "I'm not Ollie, you're mistaken," the guy shouted. "And anyway, pray, my dad will grind you into dust." "I don't doubt it," Matthew replied calmly. Half an hour later, everyone agreed that the guy's name was Ollie. Everyone chipped in with whatever they had to pay off the mythical debt. The sum was substantial, but Matthew sighed. Not enough, he said. Okay, you'll pay the rest next time. You understand you absolutely shouldn't show your face to me again. Otherwise, I'll start the meter and I won't be so kind anymore. I understand, the guy mumbled. Stephen was the son of a well-known man in the city. Moreover, his own sister had married the police chief's son last year. He wanted only one thing, to get to his dad, and then this handsome guy would be finished. He understood perfectly well that money had nothing to do with it, that this guy needed something else. And when Matthew said that approaching Anna was death for them, Stephen understood everything. You should have warned me that she's your woman, Stephen shouted. Who is she, and who are you? Matthew replied. Ollie, whose debt grows every day. All right, all right. Well, now for the finale, Matthew said. Take off your pants. The company stared at Matthew in fear. He smiled kindly. Don't be scared, he reassured them. A photo for memory, so you keep your mouths shut. Otherwise our newspapers, they're so fond of such photos. 6 months later, Matthew had to leave the city. Law enforcement agencies had become very interested in their activities. His mother cried, Matthew, why do you need all this? You should go get a job, she pleaded. Mum, stop it, he replied. Everything's fine. I left you money. I'll be back in a few months and everything will be the same as before. Catherine Miller sat on the sofa, wiping away tears. The traces of her past drinking had long disappeared from her face. Now the woman was unrecognizable, well-groomed, with makeup. She was 40, but looked only 35. Mum, have you thought about getting married again? Matthew asked. Catherine Miller laughed through her tears. What are you talking about? She said. What kind of bride would I be? Mom, you're wrong about that, Matthew replied. You're so beautiful. Stop it. Let me help you get ready. Matthew and 2 others from his company left. They decided to head to the capital. There were more opportunities there. None of them thought about the possibility of getting caught or even going to jail for shaking down the rich. Only romance was in their heads, and romance couldn't exist without money. Things went well for the guys in the capital. True, one of them got married almost immediately and left the business, but Matthew wasn't offended. It was right. Everyone should live as they wish. They quickly put together a new team, and life went on. Another 6 months passed, and Matthew learned that Uncle Steve, the very one who caused the problems, had been removed from his post as police chief, and that meant he could finally visit his mother. Matthew drove slowly through the city streets. Nothing seemed to have changed, yet everything felt so unfamiliar. He hadn't been here long, but it felt so good. He stopped by the house, looked at the windows. He hadn't warned his mother he was coming, wanting to surprise her. He went up to his floor, took the keys from his pocket, but then changed his mind and pressed the doorbell. The door swung open almost immediately. Matthew! His mother exclaimed. His mother rushed to hug him. He looked at her, unable to understand what was different. Then he realized his mother's eyes were shining, and the reason for the sparkle wasn't him at all. Matthew immediately noticed men's shoes and a coat. Mum, I see you've had some changes in your personal life, he asked. His mother blushed. Matthew, you weren't here. I was all alone. She began to justify herself. Mum, stop it, Matthew interrupted her. Why are you justifying yourself? I'm just happy for you. Will you introduce me? His mother didn't have time to answer. A voice, already so familiar, came from behind Matthew. The guy turned sharply. Arthur Davies stood before him. He spread his hands. Well, something like that, Arthur Davies said. I came to visit you, but it seems I'm staying forever. He looked at Catherine Miller, and Matthew saw how the man's gaze changed. Damn, unexpected. But what can I say? Matthew said. I'm glad it's you. They finally hugged. The day flew by unnoticed. His mother set the table. Matthew noticed that the room had been renovated and the bathroom was currently being renovated. Arthur Davies said, "You should have warned me. I would have hurried with the renovation. It's a bit awkward now." "You mean you did it all yourself?" Matthew asked, surprised. "Myself, of course," Arthur Davies replied. "I'm a builder by profession. Life just took me in different directions later, not always the right ones. Now I have some money, and I've had enough of running around. I want to open my own renovation company. Kathy and I will work together and live happily." "I didn't think you went to college," Matthew said. "How could I not?" Arthur Davies replied. "What kind of self-education did I get?" Matthew looked at him, confused. "Well, I'm busy," he mumbled. Arthur Davies shook his head. "You're busy now, while you're young, while everything's okay with you," he said. "But when you want to settle down, get married, you can't live that kind of life anymore." "Why? I have decent money," Matthew objected. "What about a wife, children?" Arthur Davies asked. "You understand you'll be very vulnerable." Matthew hadn't thought about that before. What did that mean? Was the way he was living not forever? And a man like Arthur Davies was telling him this. To be honest, Matthew was a little confused. At first, this man had told him completely different things. Arthur Davies seemed to understand what Matthew was thinking. "You know what I got a hefty sentence for?" he asked. "What?" Matthew asked. "When you live like you do, and I lived pretty much the same way, you feel like you're above the law," Arthur Davies explained. "Your head is in a fog. You think the whole world is at your feet, that you can do anything and nothing will happen to you. Once, in some squabble, I just miscalculated. A person, not a very good one, is gone, and I threw away almost a decade of my life. Don't repeat my mistakes. As soon as you feel capable of something more, quit." Matthew was in a slight trance. How could this be? He thought he was living correctly, even more correctly and better than many. And now it turned out that even this wasn't right. Studying. By the way, he often thought about studying, but he considered it somehow not cool. "Mom, I'm going to go sit at a bar," he said. "Sonny, Mom knows everything," Catherine Miller laughed. "Don't drink too much, don't get into fights, don't pick up bad girls." "Well, you know it all yourself," she said. Matthew's feet led him to that very restaurant. He sat down at a table, hoping deep down that Anna would come to him. But Alice came. She took his order, but returned 5 minutes later. "Is that you, Matthew?" she asked. He smiled. "That's right," he replied. "Where's your friend, Anna?" Alice sighed. "She doesn't work here anymore," she said. And Alice waved her hand. "I don't understand," Matthew said. "Did something happen?" "Then, after everything that happened, that nasty guy started coming here often," Alice began. "He literally didn't give Anna any peace, showered her with gifts, flowers. I don't know what happened to her. We all think that big money went to her head. Anyway, she quit. Their wedding wasn't that long ago." "But love is blind," Matthew mumbled. "What love?" Alice exclaimed. "Now she's hanging out in one bar with so-called friends, then in another. Her photos are in the local newspapers every morning. The girl has completely gone off the rails." "I don't understand anything," Matthew said. "Are you sure you're talking about Anna?" "Exactly," Alice confirmed. "We're all in shock too. We still think that Stephen just forced her. Now she's just losing it. She was such a nice girl." "And where? What bars does she hang out in?" Matthew asked. "Her favourite is here, around the corner," Alice replied. "It's called Nightbird, but she might change bars again in the evening." "Okay, here's the money," Matthew said. "I'm going for a walk. You eat the order yourselves. It's fine." Matthew went outside. What the hell? Anna in clubs? Anna got married? Of course he didn't know what was going on inside her, but eyes couldn't lie. He went into the bar. It hadn't been here a year ago. Inside everything was modern, almost like in the capital. Lots of people, mostly young. The fun was in full swing. There was some commotion near the stage. Matthew looked closer. Some girl was trying to get to the pole. Finally she succeeded. The girl was already quite drunk, and when she turned around he was surprised to recognize Anna. Matthew reached the stage in 2 jumps, swept her up in his arms, and simply carried her out of the bar. He shoved Anna into a taxi standing nearby. "Who are you?" she asked, staring at him with hazy eyes, then hiccuped. "Couldn't be. Robin Hood himself. What brings you to our province?" she said in a mocking tone that made Matthew want to hit her. He didn't answer, turning to the driver. "We could use some strong coffee," he said. Anna immediately shrieked. "No coffee, only whiskey," she yelled. The taxi driver stopped at a cafe open at night. Matthew sat the girl down at a table and ordered 2 coffees. Anna took small sips and looked anywhere but at him. He spoke first. "And what's going on with you?" "What?" he asked. Anna finally raised her eyes to him, and then Matthew saw how much pain and longing were in them. And also, he noticed a very skillfully concealed bruise under her eye. "So, what's this?" he asked. "What? A bruise? What do you care? You live your life and live it. Why are you interfering? Why did you even come here?" There weren't many people, but everyone turned around because Anna was almost shouting. "Anna, let's go for a walk," Matthew said. Matthew took her arm and led her towards the park. Anna didn't resist. She leaned against him, and the guy felt her heart beating. He didn't understand at all what was happening and really wanted to figure it out. Of course, he was nobody to her, but maybe she needed help. They reached the river, and Anna sat down right on the grass. The spot was very quiet, surrounded by acacia trees on all sides. She shivered. Matthew took off his light jacket and put it over her shoulders. Then he sat down next to her. They sat in silence for a while, then Matthew tried to speak. "Anna, he began. She turned to him sharply, shushing him, and covered his mouth with a kiss. They came to their senses when the sky was already getting light. Anna jumped up and started getting dressed quickly. "Anna, don't say anything. Just be quiet," Matthew said. But she looked at him in such a way that he understood it was better to be silent. Anna was a goddess. If before he had only suspected it, now he was convinced. But there was one but that he couldn't digest. Anna, when she wasn't herself, kept repeating in the heat of the moment, "I love you." Now he couldn't understand if these words were directed at him or not, although she called him by name, so it must have been directed at him. Matthew jumped up, but Anna was already gone. Out of the corner of his ear, he heard her calling a taxi somewhere behind the acacia bushes. He quickly got dressed and caught up with her at the park exit. "Anna, wait! We need to talk!" he shouted. "No," she replied. "Anna, what do you mean no? Stop!" He grabbed her arm. Anna stopped, then brought her face close to his. "Go to hell!" she shouted. "I don't want to see you, understand? Never in my life. Get away from me." He saw tears in her eyes, saw that the girl was on the verge of breaking down. He just raised his hands, and she ran away. A minute later, a car door slammed. Matthew grabbed his head. What was even happening? She shouldn't have left. He knew for sure that Anna couldn't love that idiot Stephen. Was it all because of money? No, he wouldn't let it go like that. He would definitely find a way to talk to her. Matthew headed home, cautiously went into his room, and collapsed into bed. For the next 3 days, he methodically searched the bars. Anna didn't appear. Then he found out the address where she lived with her husband and went there. Of course, he wouldn't go in, but he would definitely wait for her. He sat on a bench just so he could see the entrance. He fiddled with a wire in his hands. He always did that when he needed to calm his nerves. He had almost finished weaving something that looked like a pendant and stared at his creation in surprise. He had never made anything so beautiful before. "What are you doing here?" Anna asked, appearing suddenly. He jumped up. Anna stood before him. "Anna, we need to talk," he said. "I told you everything," she replied. "You don't need to come to me. I'm married. I will live with my husband." "Anna, you don't love him," Matthew said. "So what?" she replied. "What difference does it make who loves whom? What are you doing?" "Are you with him because of money?" he asked. "Yes, and that's none of your business," she exclaimed. "Consider that there was never anything between us, and don't come to me." "But I don't want to," Matthew said. "And you don't want to, I know. You're hurting Anna. Leave everything, let's go away. No one will ever find us. You'll be happy, and you'll make me happy." "No," she replied. "Why?" he asked. "It has to be this way," Anna said. "Go away." She glanced at his hand and took the woven pendant. "It's beautiful," she said. "Can I keep it as a memento?" He nodded and saw her eyes. There was so much pain in them. "Forgive me, Matthew," she whispered. "Forgive me." She quickly pressed her lips to his. "Go," she said. "It's better if you leave today. Just leave. I don't want to see you any more." She walked quickly towards the house, and Matthew stood watching her go. So it was money after all. How wrong he was about her. He came home and started packing his things into a bag. Catherine Miller came into his room. "Sonny, are you leaving already?" she asked. He turned around, trying to smile as naturally as possible. "Yes, Mom, it's time," he replied. "Lots of things to do, and I want to find out about studying. Arthur Davies, your husband, is right. You can't just chase butterflies your whole life." Catherine Miller sat on the edge of the bed. "When should I expect you back this time?" she asked. "Mom, honestly, I don't know," Matthew replied. "Not any time soon, for sure. But you can always come visit me. I have my own apartment, small but cozy." When Matthew returned to Moscow, his friend William looked at him in surprise. "What's up with you?" he asked. "You seem strange. Is everything okay at home?" "Yes, everything's fine at home," Matthew replied. "Listen, Will, do you have anything to drink?" William raised his eyebrows. "You don't drink," he said. "I don't, but I really want to right now," Matthew replied. Will silently placed a bottle of brandy, 2 low glasses, a lemon, and chocolate in front of him. Just as silently he poured, and they drank. "Well, Matthew, now tell me," Will said. "Nothing to tell," he began reluctantly, but by the end of the bottle he had spilled everything. Will looked at him thoughtfully. "Something's not right here," Will said. "I thought so too," Matthew replied. "Like she's afraid of him, he beats her and all that. But I offered to protect her, to leave. You should have heard how indignantly she lectured me, as if it wasn't her who was with me until morning, hot as lava." "Okay, don't freak out," Will said. "Some time will pass, and you'll look at all this from a distance." Matthew sighed. "You're right, and I understand that," he said. "It takes time. By the way, I have an idea." William leaned forward. "Now this is interesting," he said. "Will, do you have money?" Matthew asked. "What kind of question is that? How much do you need?" Will replied. "I don't need any," Matthew said. "How do you feel about opening something like an agency? Security services, but not for warehouses, for example, but protecting specific people, helping resolve disputes. Something legal, like starting a business. Aha, Will said. I think it's time we stopped playing cowboys and Indians. And yes, I like it. I haven't told you, but I recently met a girl. She's so... Anyway, I increasingly feel like I want to marry her and have children with her. Billy, congratulations, Matthew exclaimed. Yeah, thanks, of course, Will said. But you see, she works as a music teacher in an orphanage, and I can't even imagine how she'd react to my hobby. Liv, she's so refined, gentle, soulful. Sometimes I look at her and realize I'm afraid to be away from her even for an hour. I feel like something is bound to happen to her. Will, you're a romantic, Matthew laughed. I never expected that from you. You know how I always felt about love. This was true. Of their whole group, Will was the only one who hated marriage and family. Maybe because in his life he had 9 dads, and each tried to contribute to his upbringing. Until Will grew up, got built on their vacant lot, and gave the last stepfather a good beating, for which he almost went to jail. True, their company only needed one conversation with that man for him to withdraw the complaint. And now Will was talking about his Liv, and his eyes were just sparkling. 7 years had passed since then. Matthew Smith sat in his office. Their agency's office was in a beautiful new building, almost in the center of the capital. Not everything came easily. They had to resort to extreme measures a few times, but they succeeded. Now Matthew was a very eligible bachelor. If he appeared at some reception or party, all the eligible women in the city knew about it and were already there. William, his friend and deputy, was already the father of 2 adorable twin girls. 2 girls, like 2 drops of water, looked exactly alike and very much like their mother. Matthew was their godfather, and to be honest, he loved them like his own. The girls, although they were only 4 years old, felt it perfectly and took full advantage. Not long ago, there was an incident they still laughed about, and Olivia would just smile and say, "Honestly, you're like children. I'll see what you're like when you've completely spoiled them." "Then I'll bring them to you, Matthew," Will said. "Okay, I agree," Matthew replied. "Otherwise it's quiet and annoyingly perfectly tidy in my castle." It happened about 3 months ago. Mary and Marina had done something naughty at home. Generally, the girls weren't overly active or curious. This time, their mother's patience ran out. Apparently, they had cut their mother's dresses because they heard their dad telling their mum that all her dresses hid her beautiful legs. Of course, William found it funny, but Olivia was seriously upset. "That's it. Stay in your room, no cartoons, and most importantly, no ice cream," she said strictly. This was a blow below the belt, because the twins would give anything for ice cream. They tried to appeal to their father for justice, but William was immediately banished to work by the angry mother. There was nothing to do but cry. But then a brilliant idea came to Marina. They decided to steal their mother's phone and call their godfather. Any child knew how to use a phone, and finding their godfather by photo was not difficult at all. Mary watched their mother, while Marina crawled to steal the phone. They immediately locked themselves in their room and called Matthew. He was in a meeting, where, by the way, Will was also present. When Matthew saw who was calling, he looked at William in surprise, but answered. A real squeal started in the receiver. The girls explained in turns that their mother had been unfair. She had promised ice cream, and now wouldn't give it. In short, the meeting was quickly ended. Matthew told Will to follow him. They stopped at the nearest store, where Matthew bought a whole large bag of ice cream. And on the way to William's house, he told him everything. The girls squealed and hugged Uncle Matthew. Will hid behind him, choking with laughter, while Olivia looked at all this mess in confusion. However, she warned that one more such prank, and she would deprive his goddaughters of ice cream for a year. He looked out the window. Before him lay the city where they had started from the bottom. There were many like them here, and each fought for their place in the sun. Now he was a respected man. His eagles guarded all sorts of people and escorted all sorts of objects. His selection process was strict. Everyone passed physical tests. Everyone worked with a psychologist. By the way, the psychologist, Miss Eleanor Green, was a young lady, but very, very accomplished. She practiced not only for him, but also for other firms. Matthew knew she dreamed of her own office, if not a clinic, then at least a consulting room. He knew she was saving money for it. From time to time, they met alone. They got along well. Not only was Ms. Green an excellent specialist, but she also looked great and had a fiery temperament. Neither of them thought about tying their lives together. Both were married to their careers. "Mr. Smith, may I come in?" Hopi, his secretary, peeked into the office. He had literally saved this girl from death. Once, she had tried to jump off a bridge after her boyfriend left her. It was such a complicated story. Hopi was unlucky enough to fall for a gigolo. She lived alone in an apartment she inherited from her parents, who died young. So he pulled a love scam, leaving Hopi without an apartment and without means of subsistence. Matthew was returning from some party. It was late at night when he saw her. He grabbed her by the hair and collar, dragged her back. A couple of times she hit him with her fists, shouting for him to let her go. They found the bad boy, got Hopi's apartment back, and then hired her. And Hopi didn't disappoint. It seemed she remembered and knew absolutely everything. Matthew couldn't understand how all this information didn't get mixed up in her head. "Of course, Hope, come in," Matthew said. Hope had blossomed noticeably in the 6 months she had worked for them. She was only 20, but she looked 18. "Mr. Smith, everything you ordered has been delivered," she said. "The guard put everything in the car. He has the keys." "Thank you, Hope," Matthew replied. He saw the girl hesitating, wanting to say something else, apparently not knowing how. "Hope, something else?" he asked. She shook her hair. "Yes, Mr. Smith," she began. "You've done so much for me. I don't know what would have happened to me if it weren't for you and William Andrews." "This is interesting," Matthew said. "You're not thinking of quitting, are you? I'm against it." "No, of course not," Hope exclaimed. Then she handed him something. Matthew took a hard cardboard square in his hands, a wedding invitation. "Well, I'll be." He opened the invitation. Vincent and Hope. Vincent was one of their young programmers. "And when did you find the time?" He smiled at the girl, and she spoke with bitterness. "You absolutely must be there," she said. "You're closer to me than any family." "Hope, quiet, quiet," Matthew soothed her. "Of course I'll be there." The girl stumbled, then looked at him disbelievingly. "Really?" she asked. "Well, of course, Hope," Matthew confirmed. Suddenly, she rushed to him and hugged him. "Thank you," she exclaimed and quickly darted out the door. That was the last they saw of her. Matthew smirked. Well, Hopi was getting married too, only he was constantly alone. His mother would lecture him again. Yes, Arthur Davies had joined her. The last time they came to visit, he hinted persistently about children, no less than his mother. When they went outside to grill shashlik, Matthew said to him, offended, "Well, I didn't expect this from you of all people." "No, Matthew, you're wrong," Arthur Davies replied. "You know I don't have my own children. You're like a son to me. You understand that I can only play with your children. And anyway, it's time for you to get married." Matthew grabbed his head. Arthur Davies laughed. He hadn't been home for almost 7 years. Only they came to visit him. But Matthew couldn't bring himself to go. And just yesterday he woke up at night and realized he wanted to wander the streets of his hometown, walk along the embankment, visit Mr. Peterson's restaurant. The decision came immediately. He would go visit his mother for a week. How long could he dwell on that one night? How long could he think about how wrong he had been about a person? An hour later, Matthew was getting into his car. He pulled out his phone. "Mom, hi, how are you doing?" he asked. "Hi, Sonny, everything's fine," Catherine Miller replied. "How are you there?" "I just got in the car. I'll be there by night," Matthew said. "By night? Where?" his mother exclaimed. "At your place, Mom. Where else?" he replied. Silence fell on the other end of the line. Then his mother shouted, "Art! Matthew's coming! Get ready! To the store! Sonny, you have no idea how happy I am, how happy we are. Just be careful, okay?" "Okay, Mom, I'll be very careful," Matthew said. "And you don't need to go to the store. I'm bringing everything, a whole trunk full." "Sonny, what are you saying? We're so looking forward to seeing you," his mother exclaimed. He pushed away memories the whole way, but they kept flooding his mind. Matthew even got angry. So many years had passed, he thought it was all over, but no. He kept remembering Anna again and again. Damn, damn, damn. Then he started imagining that she and that Stephen had 3 children, that they were happy. It didn't work out well. Then he started thinking that Anna had become an alcoholic. It got even worse. In the end, he resigned himself and just remembered what had been between them. He wondered what she was like now, where, what. Of course, he wouldn't ask about anything, wouldn't find out anything from anyone. It was all too late. He should have done it sooner. If he hadn't been so young then, he certainly wouldn't have left. He was sure Anna loved him, but something or someone was between them. This reason was stronger than love. The town appeared in the distance. Matthew smiled. He was almost home. By habit, he turned onto his street, but caught himself in time. His mother and Arthur Davies had bought a nice big house in the centre 3 years ago. Not without his help, which he was very proud of. True, houses here cost ridiculous money, but they also paid ridiculously low wages. So his mother and Arthur saved up from their small business. He was a little offended by them. "Couldn't you have told me? Wouldn't I have bought you a house?" he asked. His mother waved her hands. "What are you saying, Matthew? You help us so much as it is," she said. It was then that his mother first talked to him about a topic they had both never mentioned. "Forgive me, Sonny," she said. "Now I remember what I did with horror. It was as if it wasn't me, but someone else. I'm so ashamed, it hurts so much for you." "Mom, it's all in the past," Matthew replied. "Everything's settled, everything's fine." "Fine is fine, but if it weren't for you, for Arthur, I don't know if I would have been able to get out of it," his mother said. "Mom, tell me the secret. What did he say to you then?" Matthew asked. "You looked scared, and then boom, you're in a relationship. I thought he had scared you." "You could say that," his mother replied. "He said he would take you away, since I didn't need you. But before that, he very skillfully gave my friends a beating. And I got scared. Somehow I hadn't paid attention to you. If you were around, fine. But then something clicked in my brain. I looked at myself in the mirror, looked at our apartment, and almost went crazy from what I saw. Well, and then you know everything yourself." The only thing that had troubled Matthew his whole life was this very episode. He was very afraid to learn that Arthur had once hurt his mother, maybe even hit her. After the conversation, he breathed freely. There was no reason for him to be offended at Arthur, and anyway, he had never seen his mother so happy before. A set table was waiting for him at home. Of course, he had no doubt that his mother wouldn't listen to him, So much food was prepared that it could easily feed a whole company of soldiers. "Mom, why so much?" Matthew asked. "Eat, eat. You've gotten so thin there in your capital," his mother said. "You need to get married so your wife can look after your diet." Arthur Davies smirked. Matthew did too. He looked like a young boar, to be honest. Plus the gym, and his physique was very impressive. But his mother knew best. If she said he was thin, he was thin, as long as she didn't get stuck on her favourite topic again. So Matthew quickly asked, "What's new with you? Have you seen any of our old crowd?" "I don't even know," his mother replied. "Just 3 days ago I met Pete. You remember Pete, the one with glasses?" "Of course I remember," Matthew said. "We always copied tests from him. The excellent student who was a failure." "And that's where she is, that he's a failure," his mother confirmed. "He got married 2 years ago. A good girl, not from here. They had a strong love. Her parents were against it, but they got married anyway. Then she got sick. The doctors aren't giving any guarantees. He told me, drunk, "Aunt Kathy, I never used to drink, but now I can't. I just can't." I feel sorry for him, to go crazy like that. "What did she get sick with?" Matthew asked. Oh, he named it, but it's such a complicated name that I immediately forgot," his mother said. "You should stop by and see him. Maybe you can help in some way." "Go, Matthew. At least offer support," she advised. "Most of them have moved away. Oh, and I met William's mother yesterday. You should tell him to come visit her." "Mum, you know he won't come," Matthew replied. "He has to, Matthew," his mother insisted. "She has cancer, barely alive, completely transparent. Of course no one is around. Who needs a sick old woman?" "What is going on?" Matthew exclaimed. "Only bad news. I'll call him today." "Why? There's good news too," his mother objected. "Remember Ninka, our neighbour from the first floor, the round one with freckles? Well, she's not round anymore, just a little plumpness left. She also got married." "How?" Matthew asked, surprised. "She's so small." "You're something else," his mother laughed. "When you left, she was 13. "No way." Matthew didn't believe it. "Yes," his mother said. "But that's not the main thing. Her husband is good, a simple guy, very polite. And just 2 days ago, they became parents. And you won't believe it, she gave birth to triplets." Matthew looked at his mother. "Are you serious?" he asked. "She's so short." His mother laughed. "Exactly. 3 girls," she said. "And Ninka is indeed only about 1.5 meters tall. Her mother is so lucky, now she has 3 granddaughters at once." Matthew felt danger again. "Okay, Mom, let's go out into the yard," he said. "I hope you'll show me your domain." His mother smiled, immediately understanding that her son was changing the subject. "Well, it was only for a week," he said. She would definitely introduce him to the daughters of all her acquaintances. They looked at the whole yard. Arthur Davies showed them the gazebo, the trees they had planted. "You're real feudal lords," Matthew exclaimed. Catherine Miller laughed. "You won't believe how I always dreamed of a house just like this," she said. "All right, tomorrow we'll grill meat outside," Matthew decided. Matthew imagined how it would all be and sighed. It seemed he had landed in paradise. He slept that night as if he had never slept before. His mother woke him up almost at noon. "Get up, sleepyhead. You'll sleep the whole day away," she said. Matthew stretched. "What time is it?" he asked. "It's already 12, his mother replied. He sat up in bed. "No way!" he exclaimed. "I'm waiting for you in the kitchen," his mother said. He got up and reached for his phone. He hadn't called William yesterday. It was too late. "Hello, hi," he said. "Great. Miss me already?" Will replied. "Well, not exactly," Matthew said. "I'm calling about something important." William tensed up. Did something happen? He asked. Well, you could say that, Matthew replied. My mother met yours the other day. Matthew, why are you telling me this? Will asked. You know I couldn't care less. Wait, don't get worked up, Matthew said. Your mother has cancer, and there's no one around at all. My mother says she looks very bad already. There was silence on the line, then Will asked, How will the firm manage without us for a few days? It'll be fine, Matthew replied. Everything's set up. Hope he will call if anything comes up. Yes, there are necessary instructions. Leave whatever papers are needed. Okay, Will said. Thanks, Matthew. Give me a call when you arrive. Okay, Matthew said. William was in the city after lunch. He called Matthew immediately. Can you come with me? He asked. Somehow doing it alone? Of course, Matthew replied. I'll be there in a minute. Where are you? I'm at George Peterson's restaurant, Will said. Matthew pulled up. William's car was empty, probably inside. Will was indeed inside. He was sitting at a table with Mr. Peterson sipping coffee. Mr. Peterson immediately said, Matthew, I wouldn't recognize you. I didn't recognize you right away at all. Oh, I would never have known it was you. They hugged. Matthew's heart ached a little. Everything here felt so familiar, so many memories. He immediately remembered Anna. Anna again. Lately, she just wouldn't leave his mind. Half an hour later, they were approaching William's house. He was noticeably nervous. Matthew asked, What are you planning to do? Liv is already getting a room ready, Will replied. Her father has a good friend who runs a clinic that specializes in these diseases. She'll rest for a day and then straight there. You decided to take your mother? Matthew asked. I can't do otherwise, Will, William replied. I'm proud to have a friend like you, Matthew said. Stop it, Will waved him off. Let's go. He pressed the doorbell. No one opened for a long time. Then shuffling steps were heard. The door opened, and Matthew was taken aback. A stooped old woman stood before them, and yet William's mother was only a few years older than his own mother. She raised her head and looked at them for a long time. Mom! William exclaimed, and then she cried. Billy! Sonny! Why didn't you call? She whispered. Mom! William hugged his mother. She wrapped her two thin, childlike arms around him and couldn't stop crying. Will! Billy! Forgive me! She mumbled. Get ready, Mom, Will said. Where? She asked. Where else? To my place, to us, Will replied. Liv is waiting for you there, and two little girls, Mary and Marina. Oh, Lord, I'll be quick. The woman seemed to find strength. She walked quickly, putting things into a bag. But Matthew saw beads of sweat running down her face. It was very hard for her. It seemed she was hurrying so her son wouldn't change his mind. After seeing William off, Matthew decided to take a walk. He didn't even notice how he ended up in the same place where he had once been with Anna. His heart ached. Why? Why was he so lucky to fall in love with a girl who turned out to be ordinary trash? He sat down on the grass. Someone stopped next to him. Matthew didn't turn around. He wanted to be alone, and he really hoped this person would leave. But the person not only didn't leave, but also sniffled very loudly. Matthew turned around irritably and was slightly stunned. A girl of about 6 stood behind him. She was tear-stained and poorly dressed. But that wasn't what caught his attention. The child held a small coloured pendant in her hands, exactly the same one Anna had taken from him once. Hey, are you lost? Matthew asked. The girl sniffled and nodded. Where's your mum? He asked. Mum was taken to the hospital and I went to look for her, the girl replied. And where's your dad? Matthew asked. I don't know, she replied. I've never seen him, but Mum said that if Dad were here, everything would be fine for us. Matthew's palms sweated. Sunshine, what's your mum's name? he asked. Anna, the girl replied. And did Mum say what your dad's name is? Matthew asked, his voice trembling. Yes, Matthew, the girl replied. Only Mum said he's not in our city. I wanted to go to another city, but they wouldn't let me and even wanted to give me to the police. I ran away. The girl sniffled and looked at him. And who are you? She asked. He couldn't answer. He suddenly remembered something, and his hair stood on end. About 3 years ago, they had just moved into the new office. The guard called him. Mr. Smith, there's a girl here who wants to see you with a child, the guard said. She says the child is yours. Matthew had rolled his eyes then. How tired he was of these potential brides. He was sick of doing DNA tests, and every time it turned out they were just trying to trick him. This time, he didn't even bother to investigate. Get her out, and don't let her in again, he snapped. How dare she be so brazen? Others did it quietly somehow, but she showed up and told everyone this nonsense. Could it have been Anna? Did he turn her away? Are you hungry? He asked the girl. Very, she replied. Let's go to my place, Matthew said. My mum is there. She cooks very well. You're not lying, are you? The girl asked distrustfully. No, he replied. Okay, then let's go, the girl agreed. The girl put the pendant in her pocket and zipped it up. Matthew couldn't resist. What's that you have? He asked. My dad made it when I wasn't born yet, and Mum didn't know I would be, the girl replied. They walked up to the car. Is this yours? The girl asked. Mine, Matthew replied. I like it, she said. It's very beautiful. Settling comfortably, the girl extended her hand to him. My name is Kathy, she said. And mine is Matthew, he replied without thinking. The girl immediately fell silent and looked at him strangely. When they stopped, she couldn't hold back. Are you my dad? She asked. I don't know, Kathy, Matthew replied. You'll tell us everything. I'll go see your mom, and then we'll find out everything together. Agreed? Yes, the girl replied. I was also thinking of going to Aunt Liv's, but no one is home there. I knocked and knocked. I thought I'd go again in the evening, but then you were there. Let's go, Matthew said. He carefully picked her up and set her down on the path. Kathy looked around. Is this your house? She asked. This is my mum's house, Matthew replied. It's so beautiful, Kathy exclaimed. Catherine Miller came out to meet them, looked at Matthew in surprise, and then stared at the girl. Matthew saw his mother's eyes widen. Matthew, who is this? She asked. Mum, I'll explain everything soon, Matthew said. But for now we have a problem. Kathy is very hungry. Catherine Miller immediately bustled about. Come on, sunshine, come on, she said. We'll have lunch now. She led the girl away and Matthew rushed to the car. There were cigarettes somewhere in the glove compartment. He had seen someone he knew had forgotten them. Here they were. He lit one, coughed, and immediately someone took the cigarette from him. Why would you? Arthur Davies asked, standing next to him. He looked thoughtfully at Matthew. Did you notice how much the child looks like Kathy? He asked. Matthew almost hit himself on the forehead. Of course, and he had been wondering the whole way what was bothering him so much. And I was wondering who it was, he mumbled. It's a very long story, Arthur Davies said. First, we need to ask the girl and find out where her mother is. They all sat opposite Kathy, who was heartily eating mashed potatoes and a cutlet. Mum made me cutlets too, Kathy said, a long time ago. Then we didn't have money, and we just ate mashed potatoes. Catherine Miller glanced at Matthew, then turned to Kathy. Bunny, where is Mom now? She asked. Mom was taken to the hospital, Kathy replied. She was walking. We were walking home, and Mom felt sick. She fell. The neighbours called an ambulance, and Mom, as they were taking her away, kept whispering, "Find Dad, find Dad." And she didn't open her eyes. Aunt Lucy wanted to take me in, but she has Paulie, and he fights, so I ran away. First I cried, then I got hungry and went to Aunt Liv's. She always feeds me because Mom is often sick and can't always cook. But she wasn't home. I went to the park. We often sit there with Mom, and that man was there, in our spot. Matthew was overwhelmed, teetering on the edge. He stood up. "Mum, come outside with me," he said. Kathy immediately rose and followed her son. "Mum, I get that everything needs to be verified, but all signs point to Kathy being my daughter," Matthew said. "I've already figured that out, Matthew," Catherine Miller replied. "I just don't understand. You truly had no idea about her." "No, Mom," Matthew replied. "But how could you think I would hide something like that from you? I need to leave, find Alice, then the hospital where Anna—" "Her name is Anna." "Yes," Catherine Miller said. "Okay, Sonny, go. I'll manage." They returned to the room. Kathy had moved to the sofa and was engrossed in watching television. She was yawning desperately, but the cartoons were also interesting. Catherine Miller immediately took a blanket and placed a pillow under the girl's head. "Lie down, it'll be more comfortable to watch," she said. Kathy lay down. Catherine Miller covered the girl. She immediately closed her eyes, only managing to whisper, "I need to find Dad." Matthew rushed out of the house. He needed to go to the restaurant. Of course, a lot of time had passed, but maybe Alice's address was still there. Mr. Peterson was surprised by the request, of course, but strangely enough, he found the address quickly. "I'm not sure she still lives there," he said, "but at least it's something." Matthew pressed the doorbell, praying only that Alice still lived there. The door swung open and he exhaled. "Hello," Alice said. "Are you here for me?" She peered into the guest's face, then suddenly whistled. "It can't be. Mr. Matthew Smith himself," she exclaimed. "What brings you to me?" "Alice, you have to tell me everything about Anna," Matthew said. "Why should I?" Alice asked, looking at him with an indifferent gaze. Matthew understood that she knew about Anna's visit to him. "Because Kathy, her daughter, and as I understand it, mine too, is at our place now," Matthew said. "And Anna is in the hospital, and I don't really understand what's happening." "In the hospital?" Alice repeated. "Yes, Kathy came to you, but no one was home. We were at the Dacha. Anna felt fine yesterday. I didn't think— Oh, damn. Okay, come in." She stepped aside, and Matthew went where she indicated. "Want some tea?" she asked. "No," Matthew replied. "Tell me." Alice sat down in front of him and looked him in the eyes. "Honestly, I should just send you away," she said. "But if anyone can help them now, it's only you." Back then, many years ago, Anna was studying. Her mother was very ill. She could barely walk. She needed an operation that cost a lot of money even then. Or rather, the operation itself was free, but she had to go to another city, live there, undergo rehabilitation. They didn't have money for any of that. Anna took the waitressing job because all the money went to supporting medications. After that scandal, that same Stephen started frequenting the restaurant. He literally stalked Anna, and then he offered her a deal. He would pay for her mother's operation and Anna would marry him. And if Anna tried to divorce him, she would have to pay him back the entire sum. Matthew clenched his fists. What an idiot he was. He could have guessed right away that something was wrong. But no, he played the offended party, ran away like a blushing maiden. Alice continued. "Anna hated him terribly," she said. "He knew it. Sometimes he would beat her. And then you— She rushed to you like a drowning person. She always said that she was only happy for one night in her life. And Steve. He kept feeding her promises. As it turned out, after his uncle was kicked out of the police, there was no one to cover for his father, and things went downhill sharply. Steve simply had no money. A year later, Anna's mother died. She never got the operation. Then Anna started packing her things. Kathy was only a month old then, but he couldn't just let her go. He beat her badly. I took Kathy then, and Stephen was jailed. There was no protection anymore, and no one wanted to stand up for him just like that because he was a rotten person. That time, he damaged something in her head. Anna had surgery, but the doctors gave no prognosis. But she pulled through. She spent almost 6 months in the hospital. Then she couldn't work, terrible headaches. She endured for a long time, and when she lost consciousness right on a pedestrian crossing, she went to you. You were a big shot by then. She didn't want anything from you, only a promise. If she was gone, if something happened, you wouldn't abandon Kathy, but you turned her away. I didn't know it was Anna, Matthew whispered. I understand you didn't know, Alice said. Sitting up high, looking far, but not seeing what's under your nose. Oh well, what's done is done. Anyway, we don't know where Stephen is now. We were afraid he'd come back and finish her off, but he's not here. Maybe someone killed him. Anna was evicted from their apartment. It was auctioned off. She returned to the apartment where she lived with her mother. Well, as you can imagine, life was very hard for her. The payment was tiny. She couldn't work. Sometimes she went to clean for neighbours or through ads, but she couldn't do much. She got very tired. That's basically it. Kathy? Yes, she told me about you. I was against it, but Anna is stubborn. Matthew sat in silence, and all of this could have been avoided if he hadn't behaved that way. Which hospital could she have been taken to? He asked. You're kidding, Alice exclaimed, as if you haven't lived here for 20 years. We only have 3, children's, adult and maternity hospital. Listen, I didn't even think of that, Matthew said. Thank you. For the story and for Anna and for Kathy, I won't forget this. He rushed out of the apartment and sped off. To the hospital now, and then figure things out. He wasn't allowed past the reception. Young man, did you look at the time? What kind of visits are these? The nurse asked. He looked at his watch. 8 p.m. Damn, how did time pass so quickly? Well, can I at least call a doctor? He asked. I beg you. They called a doctor for him. Tell me, please, Anna, Matthew began. She was brought here from the street today. How is she? Maybe she needs something. And who are you to her? The doctor asked. I'm an acquaintance, Matthew replied. A former boyfriend. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I have to help her. We have a child together. Interesting, the doctor drawled. An acquaintance, a child together. Young man, are you perhaps drunk? I'm not drunk, Matthew exclaimed. I haven't been in town for 7 years, and I didn't know we had a child. The doctor looked at him carefully and took out a pack of cigarettes. Let's go outside, he said. You can't see her anyway. She's in intensive care. In intensive care? Matthew repeated. Is it that serious? You bet, the doctor replied. You have to really not care about yourself. She was told long ago she needed surgery. There's a growth that formed after the blow, and it's pressing. But we're waiting for a miracle? Matthew asked. Why can't it be done now? We have... I beg you, the doctor interrupted. I'm an ENT, but I'm burdened with all these duties here. There's no one to work, no specialists. Okay, Matthew said. When can she be transferred? That I can't tell you, the doctor replied. She waited too long. It's unknown if she'll wake up this time or not. Matthew looked at the doctor. No, not this. He had just found Anna and Kathy, and now he was going to lose her immediately? I'll figure something out, he said. I'll bring doctors. From where? From Geneva? From the capital? The doctor gave a cheerless smile. Exactly from there, Matthew said firmly. Everyone will be here tomorrow. Are you joking? The doctor didn't believe him. No, I'm not joking, Matthew replied. So tell me right away what else is needed. The doctor took out a notebook and wrote something. Matthew took it. The first line was lamps. I don't understand, he said. We have one lamp left in the operating room, the doctor explained. You can remove an appendix with that kind of light, but you can't operate on a person's head. I understand, Matthew said. Everything will be done. Matthew jumped into the car. He drove home, calling William on the way. Will, help me, Matthew said. I need a team of surgeons to come here. You won't believe it, but I have a daughter, and her mother is between life and death right now, and they can't do anything to help her here. It's a complicated surgery on the brain. William whistled. Wow, news, he exclaimed. I'll try to figure something out. I'll ask my father-in-law. Will, all my hope is on you, Matthew said. I told you I'll do everything I can, Will replied. A daughter? And how old is she? She's 6, Matthew replied. 6-something. Her name is Kathy. Well, brother, you're something else, Will exclaimed. Keep your phone close. As soon as I find anything out, I'll call you. Thank you, Matthew said. Thank you, Will replied. You should have come visit your mother a long time ago. Matthew lowered his phone. While he was talking, he had stopped, and now he saw he was standing near the only shopping centre in this city. A man came out of the doors, proudly carrying a large plush bear. Matthew jumped out of the car and rushed inside. 20 minutes later, he came out with a large bag of clothes for Kathy and a box. And in the box was a very beautiful doll with blue hair and a whole suitcase of dresses. He found his family in the kitchen. Kathy was eating pancakes that Catherine Miller had made. But at the same time, the girl managed to argue with Arthur Davies. They were talking about butterflies, or birds in short, about those who fly. Sonny, what do you have there? Catherine Miller asked. Matthew glanced at Kathy and smiled. Apparently his mother had just bathed her. The girl was shining with cleanliness, dressed in Arthur Davies' shirt, the sleeves rolled up, and she herself was invisible in that shirt. Matthew handed his mother the bag. There's a pyjama, some dresses, he said. I don't really know. I just gave her age and said I needed everything for the first while. Catherine Miller peeked into the bag, then turned to Kathy. Well, Princess, shall we go try on your new clothes? She said. Kathy clapped her hands. And there, and you, let's go, she exclaimed. Half an hour later, a flushed Kathy returned in new pyjamas with bunnies, slippers with pom-poms, and a robe. She went up to Matthew. Thank you, she said. He was flustered. You're welcome, he replied. I have something else too. He handed her a large box. The girl could barely hold it. Catherine Miller rushed to her. Let me help you, she said. She opened the box, and Kathy gasped. The girl touched the doll's hair with her fingers, fingered the beads around its neck. She's so beautiful, Kathy exclaimed. What will you name her? Catherine Miller asked. Anna, Kathy replied. She's as beautiful as my mum. Catherine Miller looked at Matthew, then back at Kathy. Tears rolled down the girl's cheeks, quickly. Matthew knelt beside her. But why are you crying? He asked. Don't you like the doll? I like it very much, Kathy replied. It's just, you bought me so much, it's so nice here, and Mom is alone there. They'll cure her, Matthew said, hugging her. Of course they'll cure her, he repeated. Very good doctors will come from the city where I live. They'll operate on Mom, and everything will be all right. Mom's head will never hurt again. Really? The girl looked at him disbelievingly, then hugged his neck. "You know, I knew right away you were my dad," she said. Because you have kind eyes. And Mom said my dad has the kindest eyes. Will you save Mom? Mom said that when Dad is around, everything will be fine." Catherine Miller turned away, wiping away tears, while Matthew looked into the girl's eyes. "I promise you," he said. "Now everything will be fine. Well, shall we go dress Anna?" "Let's go," Kathy exclaimed. Matthew happily helped Kathy dress the doll, even played the role of a stylist when they chose which jacket would go with white trousers. Then they settled on the sofa to watch cartoons, and they both fell asleep like that. Catherine Miller covered them with a blanket and dimmed the light. Will called at 4 a.m. "They'll be there by around 9, he said. "Meet them at the entrance to the city so they don't get lost." "Will, I'm in your debt," Matthew said. "Stop it," Will replied. "We're like brothers. No need to keep score of who owes whom. Go on, good luck there." In the morning, Matthew stood at the entrance to the city. A black minivan stopped next to him. He waved to the driver and drove ahead. The operation began 2 hours later. He stayed in the corridor the whole time. A nurse tried to kick him out, but he looked at her in such a way that she didn't bother him any more. While sitting, he thought about many things. Then he started studying the pictures on the wall. He walked around, sat down again. There was some noise in the corridor. He turned his head. A woman was being wheeled on a gurney, apparently brought by ambulance, and a man with glasses was running beside her. "Claire, I'm here," he said. "Everything will be fine. Don't worry." The woman looked past him somewhere and didn't answer, and there was such detachment in her gaze that Matthew felt uneasy. Pete wasn't allowed into the room. He sat on a chair in the corridor and buried his head in his hands. Matthew had promised his mother he would stop by, but he had gotten so caught up. He walked over and sat down next to him. "Hey, Pete," he said. He raised his head and looked at Matthew. Apparently, he couldn't figure out who was in front of him. Then he smiled weakly. "Matthew, is that you?" he asked. What about your wife?" Pete waved his hand. "Don't ask," he said. "They've given her 3 diagnoses in the last 6 months. They say we need to go to a big city where there's equipment, where there are doctors." "Well, why aren't you going?" Matthew asked. "Well, you need something to go with," Pete replied. "I work 2 shifts, and the money—" "Oh, don't ask. I can't stand by and watch my Claire fade away and do nothing." "So I don't understand. It all comes down to money?" Matthew asked. "It does," Pete confirmed. "Do you have a card?" Matthew asked. "A card? Well, a bank card, yes," Pete replied. "Why do you need it?" "I do," Matthew said. "Give it here." Pete obediently took out the card, and Matthew took out his phone. He transferred a large sum to Pete's card. "Bye," Matthew began, and in his pocket he bent his phone. Pete looked at the SMS, then at Matthew. "What are you doing?" Pete exclaimed. "We have nothing to pay you back with." "It's nothing," Matthew replied. "You can pay me back in the next life. Leave tomorrow. Here's the address. It's my place. I'll warn the housekeeper that you'll stay with us while the examination is done, although your wife will probably be admitted. Well, it's okay. You'll live alone." Matthew stood up. Pete also jumped up. He was pale, stuttering, and couldn't start speaking. "Matthew, I'll work it off," he exclaimed. "I'll pay everything back. Thank you." "You're welcome," Matthew said, looking at him thoughtfully. "You know, money is nothing compared to the life of a loved one," he added. He walked and sat down again on the chair next to the operating room. He closed his eyes. Perhaps he even dozed off, because when the door opened, he jumped up sharply, not fully understanding where he was. The doctor who had come from the capital approached him. "Well, the girl was born lucky," he said. "Another day and the operation wouldn't have helped. But this way, everything is fine. As much as it can be for someone with a hole in their head." The doctor laughed at his own joke. "Well, shall I take a look at your patients?" he said, "while I'm in a good mood?" He was immediately led to where Svetlana, Pete's wife, had recently been brought. "You know, it's a completely inexplicable case," said the doctor Matthew had spoken to yesterday, coming up to him. "Yes, so many years in medicine, and I still continue to be amazed at what a person is capable of," he said, "and not just the patient. And doctors will never be able to replace a robot in a human, because everyone is different. You can come tomorrow after lunch. I'll let you in for 5 minutes. Doctors, everything's fine. Go rest." Matthew went home and immediately sat down on the threshold by the door. It turned out he was so tired, and he hadn't even noticed it. He raised his head. His mother, Kathy, and Arthur Davies were looking at him. A single question was in everyone's eyes. "Everything's fine," Matthew said. "It was successful. You can visit for 5 minutes tomorrow after lunch." Kathy shrieked and rushed to hug him. He hugged her thin little body and only then realized that he was now fully responsible for this small, lively girl. In the morning, Kathy was already dressed. "Where are you going so early?" Matthew asked. "To Mom's," Kathy replied. "But they won't let us in until after lunch," Matthew said. "It's okay, I'll wait," the girl replied. Matthew smiled. What could he say to her to make her change and play for a while? Nothing. Then he said, "Well, then let's eat and go for a walk, and then to Mom's." "Yes, yes," Kathy exclaimed. Anna tossed and turned restlessly. "Kathy, where am I? Kathy," she whispered, opening her eyes. Everything was white, a hospital, so she had lost consciousness again. A nurse appeared next to her. "How are you feeling?" she asked. "What's the date today?" Words were very difficult to get out. 21st, Anna whispered. "Oh," the nurse drawled, "your last memory is the 18th. "Where is she? Kathy," Anna exclaimed. "I need to go. I have a daughter." "Lie still," the nurse said. "You just had surgery yesterday. Where are you going?" "Surgery?" Anna repeated, listening to herself. Right, a bandage on her head. But her head didn't hurt, just under the bandage on top. So, they were able to do it here after all? But they had sent her daughter somewhere. "You're strange," the nurse said. "Both your daughter and your husband are waiting in the corridor. Some people are lucky with husbands. He ordered doctors from the capital and saved another life just like that, practically passing by." The nurse pursed her lips, and Anna froze. Husband? What husband? Doctors from the capital? Matthew? No, it couldn't be. The door to the room burst open, and a scream filled it. "Mommy!" Kathy exclaimed. Anna felt a tear roll down her cheek. "Daughter," she whispered. Kathy was dressed like she was on the cover of a fashion magazine. Anna looked at her in surprise, and the girl turned around several times. "Do you like it?" Kathy asked. "Dad bought me all this. Dad." "Hi, Anna," Matthew said. She turned her head slightly. Her hands were numb. "Anna, quiet," he said. "You can yell at me later. We only have 5 minutes. Kathy is fine. We're staying at my mum's. Don't worry, she likes eating with us. We'll come visit you every day. And forgive me, I was a stupid fool." He said all this in one breath. Anna smiled weakly, and Kathy immediately said loudly into her ear, "Mum, Dad said everything will be fine for us now." "Yes, daughter," Anna replied. "If Dad said so, it will be." Anna was discharged a month later. She had visibly improved, her paleness was gone, and she had gained some weight. There was no need to even mention Kathy. She was a completely different child. Matthew couldn't even remember how lost and thin she had been in the park back then. Now he understood one thing. Children have energy like a spaceship. It sometimes runs out, but it recovers in 5 minutes. And children only stop asking questions when they're asleep. He handed Anna flowers and opened the car door. "To my parents' place now and home tomorrow," he said. "Home?" Anna repeated. "Yes, home, to Moscow," Matthew replied. "Or is something keeping you here?" Anna smiled and shook her head no. "No," she replied. "The most precious thing to me is right here now. It's you and Kathy." Matthew didn't have time to answer. Someone was running towards them through the hospital park and shouting. "Is that Pete?" Matthew asked. "Did something happen to his wife?" "Matthew!" Pete shouted, trying to catch his breath. "What happened?" Matthew asked. "It happened!" Pete exclaimed. "My Claire is recovering. Matthew, I wanted to thank you." Pete wanted to fall to his knees, but Matthew caught him in time. "What, have you gone completely mad?" he asked. "Live and be happy. Don't delay having children. Children are happiness." Pete wiped away tears and kept mumbling words of gratitude. They got into the car. "Well, ready to meet your in-laws?" Matthew asked. Kathy bounced up and down. "Grandma baked a cake today," she exclaimed. "I helped too." Anna closed her eyes. What a happy fool she was. But happy. How many times had Alice told her to go see Matthew's mother? But no, some foolish pride. Matthew didn't need her. She had driven him away herself. If only she had known how much could have been avoided. But on the other hand, there wouldn't be these moments of absolute, complete happiness now. "Mommy," Kathy called. "Yes, Kathy," Anna replied. "Does Dad ever lie?" the girl asked. "No, of course not," Anna smiled. "What happened?" Matthew asked. "No, Mommy, nothing," Kathy replied. "Dad just promised me a little brother or sister soon." Anna coughed, and Matthew asked solicitously, "Maybe some water?" His face was so innocent that Anna couldn't help but laugh. While everyone was laughing, they didn't immediately hear Matthew's phone ring in his pocket. "Hello? Yes, Hopi?" he said. "What's wrong with your voice? What happened? Oh, well, of course I didn't forget. I just forgot when. I'll definitely be there the day after tomorrow. Only Hopi, I'm not alone. My wife and daughter are with me." A wail or a shriek came from the receiver. Matthew even had to move it away from his ear slightly. "Got it," he said. "By 2:00. He hung up and looked at his girls. "Well, is our social life starting?" he asked. "The day after tomorrow we're going to a wedding, a very famous restaurant in Moscow. We'll have to leave early tomorrow. You'll need outfits. You must always be the most beautiful girls." A year and a half passed. Hopi and Anna sat in the park. "I feel really unwell today," Hopi said, rubbing her lower back. "And I've been feeling heavy all morning," Anna said. "Where did they go?" "I don't know," Hopi replied. "They went for ice cream, as if it were across the ocean." By the time Matthew and Vincent returned, their wives were quite on edge. Hope and Anna had become very good friends, and from time to time their husbands had to accompany them, very much rounded, to the park for a walk. It just so happened that their due dates were the same, and today both felt that their bad mood wouldn't just pass. "Vince, why did it take so long?" Hopi asked. "Bunny, there was a long line," he replied. Anna looked at Matthew. He looked scared at how pale his wife had become. "What are you staring at? Take us to the hospital," she exclaimed. Now it was the husbands who turned pale. Matthew asked cautiously, "Why?" Anna wanted to laugh, but a contraction made her gasp. "Matthew, don't ask stupid questions," she said. If Matthew thought he would never be as scared as when Anna had her operation, he was very wrong. When they got stuck in traffic, with Anna in the back seat, Matthew thought he would go grey. They pulled up to the house like they were racing. Matthew picked up his wife and ran towards the emergency room. Vincent followed close behind. Hopi, however, walked proudly on her own. 2 hours of tense fear. What if they were too late? What if something went wrong? Then the door opened. It seemed to Matthew that these were the gates of heaven, and the nurse was a kind angel who said loudly, "Well, daddies, you have strong boys, real heroes." Matthew suddenly felt weak. He leaned against the car and almost cried. A son. He was the happiest man in the whole wide world. He had a smart, beautiful daughter, a smart, beautiful wife, and now a son. What more could he wish for from this life? For some reason, Arthur Davies' words came to mind. The main thing is to at least try to fix what you can. And Matthew had listened to his advice.